I don't think that the relationship between the U.S. and China is going to get any better anytime soon. A lot of these frictions in the relationship are fairly set, and neither side are prepared to move off the mark. I also don't expect it to get much worse than it is. I don't think it can get much worse than it is. But with respect to the European Union and the UK, I think this was a big surprise for China. They thought that certainly Biden would try to bring the alliance together in coordinated action against China. They didn't expect for that to happen this soon and for it to be this effective. I mean, we had the UK and the EU all coordinating on transatlantic sanctions against Xinjiang. This is what the Chinese feared, quite frankly, and still fear, is that Biden will be able to pull off this hat trick of bringing together the Asian allies and the transatlantic allies in a cooperation against China. And China was just not prepared. I think it rattled some cages in Beijing for sure.
Yeah, that quad you speak of with Japan and India and Australia sort of kind of ringing that ring of fire somewhat, if you will. All right, DeWardrick, so not getting any better is one thing. To your point, getting worse is another. Do you think it just doesn't get better? Or could our relations with China, second biggest economy in the world, could they degrade further? And if so, what exactly would that look like?
Yeah, very good question. Look, again, I think for the U.S. and China relationship, that's fairly set. But I do think things can get a lot worse between China and the UK and China and the EU. And China is really looking to use its market and what it believes is the UK and the EU's attraction to that market to really apply pressure to those places and say, do you really want to follow Biden and the U.S. down this path, given how important your economy, our economy is to you? So it's yet to be seen how hard the EU will go at China. Will the investment treaty, for example, hold or will it be unraveled? I'm unsure, but I think we are certainly in for a lot more frictions across the Atlantic with China. I think the U.S. and China's relationship is fairly set. The Biden administration is going to continue to develop its China policy in a way that meets China where it is now versus where they hope that it might be at some point.
But what power do we have? We have tariffs. By the way, we've showed record volumes of imports from China. The shipping container problems that I highlighted a couple of weeks ago in South Carolina, we are importing so much stuff from China, it'll blow your mind. And we forget that much of that, I think 75%, still has a tariff on it. In other words, nobody cares. The tariffs aren't doing anything. What kind of power do we have, really?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, most of those tariffs were not very targeted in places that would impact China. I think a lot of it has impacted us, as you well point out. But I think export controls on technology, particularly emerging technologies, things that China needs to continue to develop its economy, I think you're going to start to see more of that sort of action. So more targeted, more surgical action from the U.S. in places that can hurt China, not places that will hurt the U.S. when we level these actions, or what we're likely to see. And I think increased coordination and global pressure on China does, as we've seen by their reaction, have an impact on China. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that as we move out.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.